What's up, everybody? Alex here. Welcome back to another video, and welcome to a unboxing slash review of this box set, Rush the albums 1989 to 1996. So, well, I guess unboxing is ruined. I'll get to this in a second, but first of all, I don't really do unboxing videos or review videos, but it seems like the most successful people do. So let's see if we can ride on those coattails a little bit. I'm a huge Rush fan. I wanted to take a moment in this video to not only talk about this box set, but just my experience with Rush and my Rush collection, all that kind of stuff. So let's go back to 2003. What is this whole situation? You know what? It's fine. 2003, I was 13 years old. Yes, that means I was born in 1990. 2003, I was 13 years old. There was a movie out in the fall called School of Rock, which is still one of just the best movies ever. But as a 13-year-old who was just getting into music or sort of, tempted by it, what a meaningful movie. There are still references I make to that movie and Jack Black's character and all this kind of stuff. But specifically the scene where he is teaching, the students and giving them some homework assignments of some records to go home and study. And he gave, I think, the guitarist Jimi Hendrix experience. And then he gave, Lawrence, the piano player, told him to go listen to the keyboard solo on Roundabout from Yes's Fragile and all this sort of stuff. And he gets to the drummer, and I might be wrong on this. I think the drummer, the kid actor, died a couple years ago. Anyway, and gives him the drummer, and he gives him, this album. And he gives him Rush 2112. And at that point, that was the first time I had ever heard the band Rush. I'm sure I heard, some radio songs, whatever. But that was the time where I was like, Rush, drummer, 2112. And the next time I went out to buy a CD, which in those days, I was going to Best Buy or Circuit City to buy CDs. One of the first CDs I ever bought was Rush's 2112. And from the moment that started, I absolutely lost my mind. I've been a big Rush fan ever since. So I'll kind of get back to that in a second. But that has sort of been, since then, I've absolutely loved Rush since I was 13 years old. And I want to show you my collection of Rush albums. And obviously, I'll go through these quickly because I know this is not the unboxing part or whatever. We're talking about the new box set, but I do want to go through these. So obviously, first, 1974, with no Neil Peart, but John Rutsey here. An amazing album, right? This is the outlier of the Rush catalog, but this is so good. A lot of people say, they're like, oh, it kind of sounds like Zeppelin. I guess, you know what I mean? It's hard rock. I think it's heavier than Zeppelin for sure, but this is an amazing, amazing album. It just is sort of the outlier for the rest of their catalog. What became sort of a huge hit for them, obviously, Neil Peart joins the band in 74, jumps in, and they do Fly By Night, and this sort of became the start of what became their signature sound, right? You also have some of the longer tracks on here. Anthem, what a way to kick that off. It did have the actual hit Fly By Night on it, Rivendell's classic, and obviously By Toward the Snow Dog. What a classic song that is. And so, Fly By Night. Now, what's funny is that was sort of a quote-unquote hit, right? They're like, there's this band on the scene, all this different stuff. But then they released this record in 1975, Caress of Steel, and this became the career ender, right? This was the bomb. Everybody hated this, all this different stuff. I don't know the last time y'all listened to this record. This is a great record. I don't know that I separate that much, from what comes next to what came before it. I like this probably as much, maybe even more than Fly By Night. And it's getting close to liking it as much as 2112. So, it's one of those things of, we'll get to 2112 here in a second, which sort of saved their career. But really, sound-wise, is it that different? I mean, yes, they're still kind of crafting their song here. First of all, Bastille Day, what a song that is. Lakeside Park, nice little pop ditty. The challenge with this record, it's got two really, really good epics, but they're not great epics, right? The Necromancer and then Fountain Lamneth are good, but you can tell they're still trying to figure out that big, long-form composition that they would perfect here on the next record, which of course was the one I just showed, Rush 2112. Now, this might not even be a top 5 Rush record for me, but this is more about how strong their catalog is. Obviously, the title track is one of the most amazing things ever. I'm not as crazy about side 2, although it's really, really good. But yeah, I mean, this was what saved their career. You know, you got them in their cool outfits, all that type of stuff, and obviously what would position them for years to come. Of course, at this point, they're releasing their first official live record, All the World's a Stage, which really perfectly encompasses those first 3 or 4 records, I guess. An amazing, amazing live album. And now we really get into the sweet spot. Farewell to Kings, obviously amazing. What I love about Farewell to Kings, obviously you have, you know, title track Xanadu, amazing. Cygnus X1, amazing. But then the song Closer to the Heart, just an amazing, beautiful pop song. You know, this is the thing. It's like people are like Rush, you know, it's prog, it's progressive metal, proto metal, whatever you want to call it. But they always, always, always had an amazing sense of melody. And Closer to the Heart, I think, perfects that. Obviously, we're going to talk about Hemispheres next, 77 or 78 here. Ooh, it's a little RCA Record Club version. Again, this is up there with Farewell to Kings as tied for my favorite right in this prog era. And now this record's growing on me like crazy. Now we're starting to see, again, a little bit of change in sound with Permanent Waves here, 1980. This, again, this sort of combination of the long, epic, big, proggy tracks, but then Spirit of the Radio, Free Will. You had these sort of radio singles. I mean, Spirit of Radio is one of those songs that I've probably heard a million times, but anytime I hear it, I want to crank it. That song has never gotten old for me. Arguably what's become their magnum opus, and you can't go wrong with it, 1981, Moving Pictures, absolutely amazing. In fact, I think people have looked at side 1 and say like, oh, that's a Moving Pictures side, when it's just banger after banger after banger. Tom Sawyer, Red Barchetta, YYZ, Limelight. Amazing, right? But then you got that side 2, Camera Eye, Winch Hunt, Vital Signs. Such a classic, amazing record. But again, what's interesting here at this point, this is so good, but they're almost on like they're almost departing out of that sort of proggy side, right? This doesn't sound like Farewell to Kings anymore. This sounds like a completely different band, which just goes to show the point I'm about to make about how this band always, always, always changed with the times and leaned into technology and leaned into trends that were going on. They never made the same album twice. Exit Stage Left, another amazing live record that sort of encompasses the previous record. So you got All the World's a Stage and Exit Stage Left. I am curious for the Rush fans out there, which one you like more. They're both just amazing to me. Here we go again. Sound is changing once more with Signals. Now we're leaning more and more into the technology, more and more into the keyboards, right? Subdivisions, a great song, but does that sound anything like Rush? In the sense, I'm sure people heard that and we're going, what are they doing? But now we look back at it and we love it. This is a record that's grown on me a lot over the years. This is Grace Under Pressure from 1984. This is the record where they're like, they sound like the Police. Kind of look like it too, right? Distant Early Warnings, an amazing song. Between the Wheels, Red Sector A. Again, a completely different sounding album. I love this album artwork. I think they're still working with Hugh Simey here, who did everything and just amazing. I love that artwork though. Grace Under Pressure. Again, an album probably when it came out, people were going, what are they doing? But this has grown on me. I think Power Windows has aged really well. I talked about this in a few videos ago. Big Money goes around the world. So good. Manhattan Project's great. I love Marathon. Marathon's amazing. Again, this was their pop album, right? And you realize they're like, how could these nerds that are writing about, you know, the meeks will inherit the earth, and now they're writing amazing pop songs with these hooks for days. Again, they always leaned into it. This is a 1985 album that, again, I think for me has aged really well. Maybe what has not aged as well is what came out in 1987, Hold Your Fire. The big hit on here was Time Stands Still with Amy Mann, and I like Amy Mann. She was the Voices Carry person, right? What was that record she put out? Bachelor Number 9, a great record. She's amazing. Force 10, I can dig it. Some of the other stuff, I can take or leave. This is probably where people, that they felt that Rush completely jumped the shark. Here we are in 1987. And I'll leave off with that because here we are now, 1987. They just released this pop, you know, sort of synthesizer heavy record. And where does, you know, one of the best, if not the best heavy progressive band go from there? And they go, ugh, here with the next 4 records. So this is from Rhino, a Rhino exclusive, I believe limited to 3,000, and includes their next 4 records. Presto, Presto, Roll the Bones, Counterparts, and Test for Echo. So, okay, not a formal unboxing, I'm so sorry. But what I will say is it shipped great, and it comes in a custom Rush box, right? Custom Rush box. Cool, love that. Custom Rush box. Okay, so we like the custom boxes, cool. So, okay. Packaging, let's talk about packaging. I like the albums, 1989 to 1996. It gives you the albums there. Now here's the thing. All that's inside are 4 records. So it's just 4 records in a box. Yeah, a box set. Okay, cool. My thing is I always wonder with places like Rhino, they just did this with the Dream Theater set. Are they ultimately just going to end up releasing all these individually anyway? And does it matter? I mean, really the only one that's still out there, all these records have been out of print forever. I see Presto originals out there every once in a while, but they're really expensive. They're pretty rare. But, Test for Echo, I mean, you're never going to come across that, especially without paying an arm and a leg. They've been out of print forever. But my thing is like, okay, if you're going to do a cool box set, especially of a really unheralded sort of era, give us a book or something, give us a poster, give us another little tchotchke. That's kind of my thing. And I don't really say that as like a box set connoisseur. I don't have that many. I just wanted these albums. And so I say that it's a box set. Well, really what it is, it's 4 records in a box. No additional stuff in here. So let's pull out some of these records and talk about them. Now, here's the thing. I will be 100% truthful with you all on this. I had never listened to any of these records before about 2 weeks ago. I never listened to any of them. So I did not know what to expect, but here's what I have heard. I heard they were trash. I heard they sucked. I heard they're like the dark period for this band, all these different things. So let's get into them. So the first one again, 1989, is Presto. I love this artwork, by the way. I mean, again, Hugh Simon, I think, was doing all of these. Absolutely amazing. So, Presto, 1989. Coming off of Hold Your Fire earlier, this is definitely similar in sound in terms of sort of the accessibility, the shorter songs, the pop sort of sensibilities, but it's definitely heavier. It's definitely more guitar-centric, and I know that's what they were sort of going for. What I will say, in my opinion, all these albums start off amazing. Those ended up being my favorite tracks on the album. And this is Show Don't Tell that starts off this record, which I absolutely love. Love this record. Is this a favorite of mine? No. Is it good? Is it enjoyable? Absolutely. I did a similar sort of conversation when I was unboxing, I guess, the Black Sabbath sort of Tony Martin years box set earlier. It's like I had never heard those records. I didn't come in with this preconceived notion of what these were supposed to sound like. I did not hear these records when they came out. I only listened to them for the first time a couple weeks ago. So, Presto, is it a favorite? No. Is it going to be top 10? Probably not. Is it still enjoyable and a strong effort from a band that is on, at this point, what, their 12th, 13th album or something? Yeah, I'm in. Next one, 1991. Let's go to Roll the Bones. So, this was the album that I heard the most negative about. I think this ends up on the bottom of everybody's list. But the thing is I think the title track sort of became a little bit of like the Trojan horse in a bad way for this record, right? Like I think people heard the title track. There's this weird like funky rap thing in it. And I think people are like, oh, Roll the Bones, that's their like rap record. And it's like no, it's not. Like that's their worst record. It might be, I don't know, but again, I still like this record. Dreamline, first song kicks it off, love that song. I also love Bravado as well. Ghost of a Chance is a great song. I mean, there's some great stuff on all these records. I'm going to say this, there is not a bad Rush record. To me, there's not a bad Rush record. Obviously, there's ones that are significantly more enjoyable than others, but there's not a bad Rush record for me. So yeah, Roll the Bones, 1991. Yeah, I'm digging it. I like it. Here's where I think they picked it up a little bit. Counterparts, 1993. Heavier, still similar sound. I think they get back to some instrumental tracks on here. Again, Animate kicks off the album. You know, that's what does it for me. A great album opener. Love that track. You know, to me on these records, where they struggle is not necessarily how they sound. To me, it's a little bit of a lack of, you know, what am I thinking here? Everything feels very samey. To me, there's a lack of progressiveness in the sense of how different sounds sound. They all feel very, very similar to me. And that is sort of the case with a lot of these records. No, these records don't all sound the same, but you can very clearly tell they're on this sort of thread here. But you have to consider, what are other bands doing, these legacy bands doing during this time, right? Like, you know, what's Yes doing during this time? What is Genesis doing during this time? And I'm not saying that Rush and Yes and Genesis are all the same, but I mean, to me, again, I go back to, this was the sound that they were going with at the time. They had always, always, always learned from the people around them, from what was popular, what sold. They never really sold out in that way, but they were always really in touch with what was going on around them. But Counterparts, of the first three, I like Counterparts the most here. Again, a little bit heavier, all that good stuff. And to me, well, I don't know if I say it's the best. Test for Echo, 1996, and sort of the last one before they had a hiatus. Neil Peart had, you know, some tragedy going on in his life towards the end of the tour for this. I think with, you know, he lost his wife and daughter in like the same year, and so then he went on complete hiatus, and you know, the Rush life was forever changed. But first of all, let's say this: I think this is some of the best album artwork I have ever seen them. I love this artwork to death. Again, Hugh Slimey on here. It's got to be just beautiful, amazing. So Test for Echo, 1996 we're talking, right? I mean, you got to think about what is popular in the world in 1996. It's not Rush. It's not this type of stuff. But again, to me, it's a strong record. I kind of go back and forth between this and Counterparts, liking them the most over Roll the Bones and Presto. I think at this point they're trying to, I don't want to say get back to their old day. You know, it's not what it's about, but they're moving away from all the technology and moving back into more of an organic sound for me, while still leaning into who they are and what's popular at the time. So yeah, Test for Echo, 1996, the last one before their hiatus. And that leaves two records, Vapor Trails and Snakes and Arrows, before they end their career. With this record, Clockwork Angels, from 2012. And, you know, here's what's interesting. Again, Rush is one of my favorite bands. I knew I was going to get this box set. I'm so glad I got this box set. But what I'm curious from you all is, A, if you were around and a Rush fan when these records came out, you know, I'm looking at some of my fans. I know, you know, Brian, Embryonic Robot, if you're watching, I know you got a Test for Echo copy, kind of. Curious on your thoughts on that. Peter, Music is a Journey, if you're watching, I know you, I think you're a big Rush fan. I mean, you're a Canadian and you're a metal fan, so you kind of have to be, right? Other Rush fans out there, I don't know if people are watching this because, you know, you saw the stupid thumbnail or whatever, but I'm curious on perspective of this music. People who were Rush fans when these albums came out and what you thought of them. People who were not Rush fans at the time, but then went back and listened to these. And then three, or maybe the people like me who had never actually listened to these records ever, and they're just sort of like a blip on the radar in the Rush canon. You know, do you ever go back to them? I think there's value in all of them. I don't know that I love any of them. What I will say is they all sound very good to me, sonically. But, you know, again, to me, there's no bad Rush records. I would still put all of these over Hold Your Fire. I said it. But that might be it. So yeah, would love your thoughts. Thanks for watching. Wanted to kind of do this and just share my thoughts and share my Rush, you know, collection, discography, all that type of stuff. I want to know what you think of these records. Presto, Roll the Bones, Counterparts, Test for Echo. What do you think of these records? Are they as bad as everybody has made them seem over the years, or is this a perfect release to give these records another chance? for the Rush fanatics out there. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching so much, and thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers, y'all. Bye.